Welcome to the Black Sparrow Media Internet Broadcast Network.
You are listening to Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a podcast about Linux, open source, and amateur radio for everyone. Now here are your hosts, Russ, K52UX, Cheryl, W5MOO, and Bill, NE4RD.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome. You have tuned into episode number 464 of Linux in the Ham Shack, the most terrific amateur radio podcast on the internet. This is the 90th edition of the Weekenders. We want to thank you for tuning in to this Weekender edition. This is where we talk about upcoming amateur radio special events and contests, upcoming open source events, lots of stuff you can do with your lives in amateur radio and open source over the next couple of weeks. And then we dive into hedonism. We get into food and song and wine and whiskey and all the good stuff that makes life worth living. So we're glad you tuned in for that. And we hope you're having a good time, and we're going to dive right into our topics. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Ross, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
All right, so as we always do on the Weekender, we're going to let Bill start out, and he's going to hit you with some amateur radio stuff that might tickle your fancy for the next fortnight.
Yeah, so we have the contests over the next fortnight here. And these, of course, come from contestcalendar.com, because, that's where we get it from. So, anyway, this coming weekend, we have the Helvetia Contest. I always get this confused with Hellschreiber, but it's not. It's actually the provinces of Switzerland. And it runs from 1300 Zulu, April 23rd to 1259 Zulu, April 24th. Bands there are 160 meters through 10 meters. Modes are CW, single sideband, and digital. So you have a plethora of opportunities and options there to run this contest. Of course, check out the link to the rules so you can figure out everything that needs to work for this contest. But if you want to participate and collect provinces of Switzerland, this is a great one to do it because they'll be all lit up. Another one contest that's a little shorter, different kind of contest, very similar to the radar contest that we talked about, or the radar program, is called QRP to the Field. This operates from 0800 to 1800 local time. So there you already get that it's a little different. April 23rd. Bands there are 80 meters through 15 meters. So a little different as well there. Modes are CW and a sideband. QRP to the Field is an annual operating event to encourage QRPers and soda stations to get out of the house and operate portable from the field or a summit, and of course make QSOs and have fun. QRP to the Field encourages participation by QRP hams of all skill levels. CW speeds are usually in the 13 to 20 word per minute range, and input power that counts as QRP is, of course, 5 watts on CW and 10 watts on sideband, because the effective output on sideband is 5 watts at 10 watts, if that makes any sense to you.
And since you're an amateur radio operator, it should.
It should, yeah. Back in the day, they used to give you the input power of everything, and you actually only got 100 watts back then too. But that's okay. When they called it 200 watts, you only got 100 watts. But anyway, no state QSO party challenges or worked all QSO parties this coming weekend. Next weekend, however, that's different, because we have the UK and EI DX contest, and that's the United Kingdom and Ireland are going to be hot and on the air. They'll be all the districts will be lit up, hopefully, and that runs from 1200 Zulu April 30th to 1200 Zulu May 1st, 80 meters through 10 meters, and this is the CW version of the contest, so only CW. And let's see what else we got here. Oh, yeah, we have a big state QSO party challenge. We have Florida. The Florida QSO party is coming up next weekend. So check that out and put that one in the contest logger. What do you got for special events?
Well, I did cut and paste a few special events in here for this fortnight. We have the first one sounded very interesting to me, which is Whiskey for Moonshine, which is kind of cool. I did not get the deets on this, but there is a link in the show notes, and I'm going to click on that in a minute here and maybe read some of what it says. But first of all, let's talk about the contest itself, which is operating for, not the contest, the special event, which is operating from April 16th through the 30th. Full-time, I assume that's various days and times of operations during that. The call sign will be Whiskey for Mike or Whiskey for Moonshine. So the club is going to be operating it as AA4SS, which is kind of close to our call sign, but and also has ass in it. Frequencies will be on or about 7.215, 14.250, 18.135, and 50.125. We'll see if there's any chance of making contacts on 6 meters during that time. Beyond all HF bands, depending on volunteers, preferences, and equipment, using phone, digital, and CW, operations will take place in Franklin and surrounding counties. And let me jump over here to the, let's see. Operations will blah, 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 planned in conjunction with local Moonshine Heritage Card Show and Ferrum College around April 26th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. or longer if they let us stay, according to this. And, of course, you can find out more information about this by clicking on the link that will be in the show notes. So that sounds like it'd be pretty cool. Then you get a 1x1 call QSL if you work it. So the next is the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 16 mission commemoration. This will be operating April 23rd through the 27th, 1400 Zulu to 2359 Zulu daily. Call signs associated with this are W5RRR, Whiskey 5 Romeo, or
it must be a pirate call sign.
Yeah. And this is, of course, operated by NASA, so they're a NOTA station, NASA on the air, and then 4SA. On or about 14.045 and 14.271, which applies 20 meters CW and phone. NASA on the air is back for 2022. They'll be operating from various NASA centers in commemoration of Apollo 16's 50th anniversary and later other milestones through the year. Info and updates as well as tracking and scoring will be available at nasaontheair.wordpress.com. Individual clubs will be provided QSL information at the QRZ.com pages. And, of course, links will be in the show notes to more information. And finally, we have the Handy Ham 55th anniversary special event. This will be operating from April 29th, 1900 Zulu to May 1st, 1900 Zulu. Call sign is Whiskey 0 Zulu Sierra Whiskey, which is the call sign of the Handy Ham Radio Club. They'll be operating probably all over the place, but they cite 7.040 and 14.265. And on Saturday, April 30th, the Handy Ham program will celebrate its 55th anniversary of helping people with disabilities get involved in the amateur radio hobby. This is a pretty special accomplishment for any organization. Listen out for CQ Handy Ham 55 on phone and CW. That's over at handyham.net. And, of course, links to more information will be in the show notes. So that's what we got. So we do have a couple of announcements we want to mention. The first one I'll mention first is the Smart Ham Fest, Southern or Southwest Missouri Amateur Radio Club. That's going to be on June 4th from 8 to 1 p.m. I'll be there, along with the other people participating in that particular event. So if you happen to be in Southwest Missouri on June 4th and want to stop by and say hello, you can do that. But, of course, we will hope we have already seen all of you at Hamvention a few weeks before. So, that will be cool, too. So speaking of LHS and Hamvention, the last episode, 2 episodes ago, we talked a little bit about our show and about what we were going to change going forward and about Hamvention as well. And it came to our attention that our thought about changing the recording day from Sunday to a different day, Wednesday was the day that we discussed, is probably just not going to work out for any of us. So what we're planning on doing now is keeping the recording day on Sunday. But what we're going to do is we're going to move the standard recording time to what was the standard recording time before Bill left for Ireland, which is 8 p.m. Central Time. But we'll be recording at 8 p.m. Central Time on Sundays And what that will allow us to do is if we have a conflict of an event that happens on a Sunday, we should still be able to record on Sundays. We will just shift the time earlier if necessary. So the plan then is that the recording day will always be Sunday, and it should be at 8 p.m. Central Time, but that time could actually fluctuate from day to day, week to week, whatever, depending on what we got going on. But we're going to try and keep the day consistent. So
we are not recording the Sunday of Hamvention.
No, because we will be we'll be tearing down.
Everybody will be tearing down and traveling.
Traveling and transit and all that kind of stuff. What we may do
we'll do recordings while we're there.
Yeah.
We normally do like an end of day wrap ups, right?
Right.
We did last time?
On Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. So, but there's that. And then I also wanted to talk about the Linux in the Ham Shack Ubuntu distro. We talked about this a little bit on the last episode, but we're hopefully going to have the LTS, the 2204, should be released here any day. And we'll have that built as an LHS distro, and we'll have that available in a couple of different versions, and maybe 3 different versions for download. And we talked about in the deep dive that we were going to have a duplicator on hand at Hamvention. I have purchased said duplicator. It should be in my hot little hands in a couple of days. And we will have some USB thumb drives as well available. And I'm going to be doing testing on all of this over the next week or two to make sure that this will do what we want it to do. And so we'll have that available at Hamvention. So if you want one of our Linux in the Ham Shack distributions, all you have to do is bring a thumb drive to to Hamvention. It'll have to be at least 8 gigs, I would say. You wouldn't want it to be any smaller than that. Bigger is better. And we'll be able to rip you a copy of the distro using our duplicator right there on site. And if you don't happen to have a USB thumb drive hanging around, we will have some available for, donation to the show, and we will make you a copy as well. So we're going to test that out here over the next week or two, make sure all that works. And that's the plan going forward, and we'll have that there. We will definitely not have DVD distros at this time because they're very unwieldy, and most people should be able to boot a computer from USB at this point. If you still need something like a CD or DVD, distro, we can still make them, and I would encourage you to let us know that you need one, and I will just make you one, a one-off or whatever, and mail it to you. So if that's something you actually need, but hopefully we'll have this duplicator thing sorted out, and we'll be ready to go for Hamvention. Does anybody else have any announcements?
Nope, I don't think anything.
No, I'm good.
All right. And for our challenges, I just throw in be at Hamvention.
Yes.
Yeah. So do whatever it takes to be at Hamvention. We'll see you there. All right. So moving on, let's get into some open source topics. And Bill is going to talk about a little distribution that he did some testing with. This was mentioned in the last episode, but we're going to reprise it here and see if we have any additional things from that discussion last time.
You're right. Because I like to make it myself an easy job here running these episodes together like we do, which won't be the case in the future. Distros to try this time is Pop! OS 2204 LTS a beta. And this, of course, is the Jammy Jellyfish Ubuntu build. Of course, Pop! OS does have their altered variances from the LTS build. They have a different kernel, and then they have 2 separate builds based upon if you want the NVIDIA proprietary driver set or if you want the AMD/Intel driver set in your build. So they have 2 separate ISOs right now that they're pushing out for beta testing. But of course, being as this is the weekender and everybody's versions are landing in the next couple of weeks here after recording, you might be able to get the full LTS builds will all be out hopefully before the end of the month for sure, of Jammy Jellyfish. So you should see the mainline Ubuntu will be out, Mate, Ubuntu, all those guys will be pushing out their builds very shortly after the mainline gets released. I haven't seen any huge breakers in the bug list. Although we did talk in the last episode a little bit about some issues with CQR log, which I don't think are going to be resolved because it's not really an issue with releasing Linux or the Ubuntu distribution, and as well the oddness with the JS8 call. But yeah, you should take a look at these builds as they get released. I believe the date is the 24th that they're supposedly landing on, something like that, 24th, 26th of April. Definitely expect somewhere around there. As well, Fedora 36 is coming out either the 19th or the 26th, based upon whether or not they can get it out the door on the 19th, and then their fallback date is the 26th. So yeah, just give one of the new builds out there a try of the two big ones that we always talk about, Fedora or the LTSs of Ubuntu. So give those a try and give us some feedback.
Yeah, definitely. Please do that. And I still am debating whether or not I'm going to try Pop OS, but so easy now that I've got a machine with like tons of RAM and tons of CPU power. Just throwing them into the VMs is so much easier. Probably should just go ahead and do that. But all right, so now we're down to open source events, and this is where we bring Cheryl in, and it's going to be a nice short one for you, not like the social media roundup from last time. So,
or the events from the past couple.
Or
of months.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, we only have the one event this time. It's Technation 2022. It's on May 12th. It's in the Netherlands. The cost is 135 to 185 euros. And the information provided is the new and improved edition of Technation is approaching fast, and this year we're going to be in person again. At Technation, you can broaden your knowledge at our hands-on labs, technical sessions, live demonstrations, and workshops, which are all focused on technology of the next era. Technation 2022 will bring more than 700 developers and the best speakers from all over the world. Featured topics include AI and ML, IoT and embedded systems, developer experience, modern infrastructure security, and new and cool. Share your passion with like-minded people, improve your skills, and have fun in an easygoing atmosphere at Technation. And there's more information in the show notes.
There's one more that we might need to mention just because I'm not sure.
Well, there's
the timing.
DEF CON.
There's DEF CON. That's not till August, though. But like, there is a Google I/O, which is also another big conference, and it is free to attend, and it's all online. So take a look at that if you are interested in the Google open source and other products.
Yeah, we'll put a link in there. It's May 11th and 12th.
Yeah, so it's coming up soon enough that I don't think we'll be able to put it into the next weekender. So let's include it in this one. Hello, phone. Hello. Is there someone there? Hello.
It was me.
Oh, okay. It's like it's not Russ's ringtone.
Yeah,
Nope.
Yeah,
so online May 11th through the 12th of 2022, and it's io.google. io.google. That's funny. That's their TLD. Google.
Yep.
Bastards. No, just kidding.
It's also google.io. So.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it's free, and of course they have different tracks based upon obviously Flutter is a big topic, and of course Flutter is a part of Ubuntu, so it's very cohesive if you want to get into Flutter app development. They just released the tooling to do Windows apps with Flutter, so Flutter is is it the next Electron? We don't know. Yeah, something like that. But Flutter is pretty popular. And a bunch of other obviously tracks for all the big data stuff and everything else. But yeah, you always find some interesting stuff in Google I/O, so it's worth mentioning.
All right, fantastic. And we have thus mentioned it. And of course, links to more information about google.io or io.google will be in the show notes. So check it out. All right. Well, that's down through the amateur radio and open source stuff, which means we've come to hedonism. And of course, we always start hedonism with Cheryl and food because we're all human and we all need to eat. So what do we have this time around?
Well, this week I am going to share my recipe for my mother's ham glaze. We're actually recording this on Easter Sunday. Russ and I just got home from brunch with friends, and I of course, I had to have a piece of ham while I was there. So for that, you need a cup of brown sugar packed, a cup of orange juice, a dash of ground cloves, and some whole cloves. For the recipe, you mix the brown sugar, OJ, and ground cloves together 1 hour before the ham is to be removed from oven. Crisscross the skin and stick in the whole cloves. Pour the liquid over and cover with foil until it's nice and hot. So, and that's it. And it makes a great ham glaze. So,
Yeah, and you can reglaze too as it cooks that last hour.
Yeah, as we do.
Yep, to give you that nice sort of crispy, glazy goodness on top of the ham. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And considering there's only 3 ingredients in this, it's pretty amazing. So,
well, 4 with the whole cloves. But
2 of them are cloves, so I'm going to call that one.
Yeah. But they're 2 different types of cloves. So.
Well, they're pretty much exactly the same cloves. But, all right. Very good. So you also have a drink recipe to share with us.
I do. This time I picked the Butterfly Martini. It's a very pretty spring cocktail, and I was especially interested in it after it mentioned that it uses creme de violette, which we bought over Thanksgiving while we were on vacation. And I thought, ooh, this would be a great way to use it. So this calls for 2 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of elderflower liqueur, such as Saint Germain, a 1/4 ounce of creme de violette, a 1/4 ounce of hibiscus rose syrup, such as Pink House Academy. That we don't have, so we'll have to get that.
We do have some hibiscus syrup.
A hibiscus rose. Well, I guess hibiscus.
I think it's going to be the same, yeah.
And a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup and an edible orchid, if you want to go that far for garnish.
Okay, that we don't have, but we we can live with that.
So with this, dump everything in a cocktail shaker with some ice and shake for a few minutes, or a few seconds actually, and then strain it into the martini glass and garnish with the orchids. So...
All right. Sounds good. I think I might have to make one of those afterwards. Although, after getting done with the review of what I've got here in front of me, I might just make another old fashioned. So,
yeah, of course you would.
So what I have is something that's been on the shelf for a while, and I didn't realize I hadn't reviewed it up till now. So I'm going to do that for you at this very moment. I have Rossville Union Rye Barrel Proof Whiskey. And the bottle was almost half empty when I pulled it off the shelf, and I just honestly don't remember drinking it, so I didn't remember if I liked it or not. So let's explore together.
It's probably some of those freeloaders that you have.
No, Cheryl bought me this one.
Oh, okay.
Cheryl bought me this one. Yeah, well, it's on the rye shelf, and I don't usually approach the rye shelf all that often because it's a rye, and I'm more of a bourbon guy. But that being said, the description I found on this on the Rossville website is it began in 1847 with a bold, satisfying taste that would make Indiana the rye capital of the world. I don't know if it actually ever was, but they say it was. For nearly 200 years, Lawrenceburg's master distillers and blenders have been perfecting the original handcrafted rye blends in one of America's last Prohibition-era distilleries. Rossville Union is a return to the golden age of rye with an authentic taste that could only come from Whiskey City. And one thing, see, this is a Prohibition-style rye, and one thing I will say is that my current and actually longtime favorite bourbon is a Prohibition-style bourbon. So I'm thinking I'm a child of Prohibition, I guess, because I really like the stuff that I've tasted that has come from what they consider Prohibition-era distillations. This is not stuff that was made in the Prohibition era. It is stuff that is distilled in the style of the time of Prohibition. So apparently whiskey during Prohibition was the best whiskey, which, maybe that's the real thing. So certainly has been for me. So what this is a blend of 2 different rye whiskeys. Both rye whiskeys have different mash bills. The first one is a 51% rye, 45% corn, and 4% malted barley. And the other one is a 95% rye, 5% malted barley. They mix those 2 together, pour them into a barrel, and then dump them out after 5 to 6 years of maturation. My barrel dump here was number 83. All of the barrel proofs are bottled at the same proof, which is 112.6 or 56.3% ABV, which is high, but not super high. So it's got a nice flavor to it. It comes from Lawrenceburg, Indiana. The color is a straight copper color. I mean, you couldn't ask for a more copper color. Or if you think of like a translucent caramel, that's what it looks like. The nose I got it was, I have to say, pretty amazing. Rye spice, of course, dominates all of this because it is a rye, and it's a pretty high rye as well, because if you take a 51% rye and a 95% rye, you're probably in the 60 to 70% rye somewhere. So for the nosing scents, I got rye spice, salted lemon, cherry, plantain, or what you might call like a muted banana, almond, and chocolate-covered strawberry. So pretty delicious, actually. And that's before you even taste it. So once you get to tasting it, you get rye grain for sure, anise, salted lemon again, strawberry jam, like strawberry on like a biscuit. You spread strawberry jam onto a biscuit dough, or biscuit, an actual cooked biscuit. That's exactly like that. And again, some light tropical fruit. And the finish, which is a medium length finish. I kind of wish it was a little bit longer, but that's my only detraction from this whiskey at all. Is rye spice, a faint citrus, vanilla, leather, and a touch of anise, and a faint hint of caramel at the end. And the thing is, you can just nose, taste, let it finish out, and then nose, taste, finish out, and you want to completely redo that cycle over and over and over again. This is a fantastic rye whiskey. I didn't realize or remember how good it was, but it's definitely going to be something that's probably always on the shelf here. I don't know how much Cheryl paid for this, but they say it's about $70 for a bottle. Is that close? Do you remember?
No, because I got it at, pretty sure I got it at Total Wine.
Okay.
It's about $40.
Wow, then you got apparently a deal. So.
No, that's how much it is right now at Total Wine.
The barrel proof? Make sure it's the barrel proof.
Oh, no, that's not barrel proof. Sorry. So yeah, it was probably about 70. That's usually that's my limit on what I spend on you.
Okay, well, thanks for that.
you tend to get a little testy when I spend more than that. So,
but most of the reviews I saw and most of the store listings had it at right about $70. So I think that's what you're going to pay for it. And I will say, this is probably the first spirit in a long time that I can recall where I thought $70 is an underpayment for this whiskey. It's really that good. And I made an old fashioned with it. So I gave it a neat score of 95. It's fantastic. And as an old fashioned, it's historic. I gave it a 97 as an old fashioned. This stuff is amazing. And as I said, I think if I paid $100 for this bottle, I would not be disappointed.
You know, the thing is, when we first got it, I don't remember you liking it. I
must have liked it to a certain extent because it was, half gone. So.
Half gone, right. I don't know, for some reason I was just thinking you didn't like it, so.
Oh, I like it now. So.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, this is great. And for $70, like I said, I wouldn't have the slightest hesitation of buying another bottle at $70 or even more than that. So if this is something you can find and have on your shelf, I would do it. And even if you're not a particularly rye kind of person, I still think this would be right up your alley. The ryeness actually complements everything about this whiskey. It doesn't make itself a rye like you might think. And that flavor that some people might find obnoxious in a rye, I think is muted to the point where it just makes this a fantastic whiskey. So that's what I've got. Rossville Union Rye Barrel Proof. I would definitely pick some up if you can find it. And Bill has got something I tried to recommend to him, and he tried it, and hopefully it was a good recommendation. So
yeah. This is Glendalough Double Barrel Irish Whiskey. And according to the website, upon its release, this whiskey won double gold at the World Spirits Competition in San Francisco. It really is an Irish whiskey that will make you think twice about Irish whiskey. A lovely, light, and drinkable whiskey. It's also complex with a depth of flavor beyond its years. It's aged twice in barrels from far sides of the world. The flavors are a game of two halves. American oak bourbon barrels bring sweet honey and smooth vanilla notes, laying down the foundations of the flavors. the Spanish oak Oloroso barrels layer on dried fruit and nutty flavors. To find the best Oloroso casks, we go off the beaten track to the small Andalusian town of Montilla, home of the famous PX grape. Here we can talk with one of the producers, choose the bodega, the liquid, the time, seasoning, and eventually the casks. This gives us more influence of the flavors of the double barrel whiskey. And of course, those are sherry casks that are being as part of the finishing. And let's see, this is a single grain. So this is a barley whiskey mash bill. So 100% barley, I'm assuming. Single grain, right?
Yep.
Proof is 84. So it's 42% ABV. So a little on the light side, but that's pretty common for Irish whiskeys. Of course, from the Wicklow region of Ireland. Its color is amber, and according to the distiller, the nose is rich with dark fruit, cherry, raisin, fig, and Christmas pudding. Floral notes with lemongrass, citrus, and a touch of nutmeg. Taste is sweet and smooth with butterscotch, honey, and peppercorn, dried fruit, maraschino cherries, and a brown sugar. And the distiller's finish is ginger spices with a touch of almond and earthiness. And I picked this bottle up for about, I think, €38 for 700 mils. So that's about $41 maybe, something like that, US dollars equivalent. And I rated it very good. So that's like the top of the scale. It is quite tasty. I literally have just what's left in my glass here of the bottle. Of course, I've had the bottle for a little bit of time. I mean, I didn't get it this morning. Although I did drive through Glendalough this morning. Actually, not about this afternoon, actually. So a few hours ago, we were actually in Glendalough, driving through, just did a drive through. We spent some time at the Irish Seal Rescue Center, and then decided to just drive through the country and take a look at things over there. And quite a beautiful place for a distillery to exist. And yes, very nice. But yeah, this is Glendalough double barrel Irish whiskey. Very, very good. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've had this before. It's really good.
I've only had one Glendalough, and it wasn't that one. It was one that came from Ireland, though, but it was a 24-year-old. And
oh well, you know, this is garbage compared to that, probably.
Well, I have said this before on the show. The 24-year-old Glendalough is and remains the best whiskey I have ever drank. So, but I've never had another Glendalough.
Yeah,
so
that's probably like a $500 or $600 bottle. So I'm not buying one of those while I'm here. I can tell you that. Plus, Glendalough, as we discussed last time, is completely available in the U.S. In fact, the distillery is not open for tours. They do sell stuff at the hotel there in town, which of course today was Easter that we're recording this on, and it was completely packed with people. So we decided not to partake in going inside the hotel and just drive through and wave as we went through. And but yeah, it's a very beautiful countryside there, and I'm sure it helps with the whiskey.
It's the terroir of Wicklow. Yeah. So, all right. Really, very good.
Yeah. I mean, all the distilleries we have visited here in Ireland have been amazing. So
I guess that brings us down to the end of the show. We have talked about the amateur radio, we've talked about the open source, and we've talked about the hedonism. And we've had a couple of really, really good whiskeys and what sounds like a fantastic cocktail that may get made once or twice here tonight after the show. So sounds like a good Easter drink. But with that, we're down to the end. We want to mention the folks who joined us live. We had Tony, K4XSS, and Don, KC9ZMY, and perhaps others who chose not to make themselves known. But thanks for listening to us. And we hope you all had a good Easter, a good holiday, whatever thing, because it's like Passover and Ramadan and Easter and all kinds of stuff going on right now. So if you're one of those people who celebrates any of those things, we hope you had a great holiday season. And we hope you have a great week, and we'll tune in for the next episode. But with that, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. This has been the 90th edition of The Weekender, episode number 464 of Linux in the Ham Shack. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD 73.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a community-sponsored podcast. Our website is located at lhspodcast.info. You can support the podcast by visiting the LHS Patreon page at patreon.com/LHS podcast or by using the contribute list on the homepage. We have a presence on Discord, Facebook, IRC, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also drop us an email at info@lhspodcast.info or leave us a voicemail at 1-909-LHS-SHOW. That's 1-909-547-7469. Visit the online LHS merchandise store at shop.lhspodcast.info for fun and fashionable show-themed merchandise. Until next time, remember to always heed your hedonism.